probably the hardest thing to do is to follow in your father's footsteps. If he's a great baseball player, so I got to play baseball like my dad. How about try something new that you can't coach because you don't know. So that's, you probably did her a favor.
Jen?
Yeah, I just want to send out kudos because every experience I've had with FOBH has been positive. They were great with our Girl Scout troop. I got the troop leader and the group together, and they took all the girls out sailing for a day, and it was the highlight of the year. Thank you for partnering with the Belmar camp, because my son goes, with Belmar camp, so that was great for all those kids. And when I speak to people about being a member and everything that's included, and that they just can't believe it, a lot of people aren't even aware that it's there,
Right.
the different things you have to offer, the different crafts available. But no, if I understand the safety and safety first, no matter what. So if there's some way that we can assist with that, and just let us know. But I think it's a great program.
Can you give us a ballpark figure of your expenses, and how do you get sponsorships? You probably need publicity. Talk to. We'll get 2 newspapers here that could talk to you afterwards.
Yeah, sure.
Just happens.
Eric Krause, our president.
Hi, Eric Krause, current president of the Board of Trustees for FOBH. Our budget is $150,000.
$150,000 per season?
Well, for the year, but basically.
You're not asking us for $150,000.
No.
You can ask, yeah.
The challenge that we have is that what we are offering is life skill development to be successful. And we use boats to do this elements. The Navy does this already for ROTC, and then for the Tube Summer for at the Academy. And we're bringing back to our communities here. But we're targeting the families of limited means, limited opportunities, so we cannot charge them what it costs to run the program. So we need donations to help. What we offer is what kids are getting that belong to the yacht clubs. We're bringing it to the communities here, the kids that don't have money to go to yacht clubs, so they can learn to be successful. So we are volunteer driven and donation driven.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, if we can help you out, we will.
Thank you.
Next on the workshop, the council committees. Have all the council people seen the appointments designated, the changes? Anybody want to talk about them? Want to move to something else? One thing we don't have there is planning board, and that
Resolution.
there's a resolution on it?
Yeah, that's a resolution.
Because that's a board, not a committee. Okay. I'll go with Mark Bevis. Are you okay with what you've been asked?
Yeah, I have no problems as it's written.
Okay. Mark?
Yeah, I'm good.
You good? Tom?
Very good, thank you, sir.
And Jen?
Yep, looks good.
You're ready to be on the resolution for the planning board?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, next, trees. Mark, you brought this up last meeting, so I think we've gotten a little further along, right?
I have something to hand you for you guys to talk about tonight. I'll walk through it real quickly, and it's on, you can add it for your consideration tonight if you like. So.
Yeah, can you just explain what all this is, Colleen?
Sure. So, government isn't as always easy as we like it to be. Okay, so.
You're kidding me.
No, I know, it's shocking. So the research that we've done since our last meeting has taught us that in order to have a proper tree memorial or bench memorial dedication program in one of our public parks, we need to do a dedication by right. So this is a mechanism with the state of New Jersey that allows us to set up that fund so that people can essentially pay for the costs of the bench or the tree, and it's a self-funding program. So this resolution would authorize us to apply to DCA for that dedication by rider. And the way we wrote this was for bench and tree memorial dedications at public parks within the borough of Belmar. That allows us to set up the funding mechanism and start the program. In this resolution also, you are authorizing myself and the superintendent of public works to execute the program, establish the areas, and we can do that by a subsequent resolution if you wish. Mike and I can come up with a plan where we think things will go, reflective of the Shade Tree Commission's recommendations, and then you can approve that plan. So this would get the ball rolling, which would get us a little bit, at least get the approval process started with the state of New Jersey, and give Mike and I an opportunity to come back to you with the map of where the trees and benches will go.
And if somebody wanted to do a memorial,
Yes.
it would go through both you and TBW?
It would go through the front office here. We would handle it, essentially, we would have designated spots for trees and benches, and it would be first come, first served. People could come and essentially purchase a tree or a bench dedicated to their loved one, and we would send it out for engraving. If it was a bench, if it was a tree, we would have a plaque at the base of the tree. We would work with the Shade Tree Commission to ensure that they're properly placed, planted and cared for. And this way, I think it brings some structure to what I hear is the desire to have some kind of dedication program, at least right now at Silver Lake and McCleary Park.
There'll be style guidelines for flags and...
Yes,
Right.
yes. We would treat it as a very consistent program. So there would be a preset form,
Right.
similar to a few back years ago when we did the bench program on the boardwalk.
Okay.
Similar to that.
And this basically sets it up so we have to do this to be able to collect money.
Correct.
We want to be able to do that.
Yes.
There's no other way to do that.
No, there's no other
Okay,
mechanism that we can accept the funds under.
Let me ask a tough question. Is this retro, or we're moving on? Let's say there's some memorial trees already planted on the park that have not grown. Is this just going to be for new stuff? New memorial trees and benches?
I will discuss the matter with Mr. Cannon. Certainly, I think what we would anticipate doing is identifying spaces where these dedications and memorials are appropriate, because it is the council's authority that approves that. So I'll talk to Mr. Cannon about whether or not we have the ability to do that retroactively.
Okay. And it's kind of connected for Silver Lake. Silver Lake is really Frigario Park, named after former commissioner. And then we had a boulder there with a plaque on it, and come Sandy, it got moved, it got destroyed, and we haven't replaced it. And their family has reached out to me to find out if we can rededicate Silver Lake Park for Frigario Park. And also, if we notice, we got to get a sign. Nothing indicates that Silver Lake is Silver Lake.
Yes.
There's just a lake there.
The lake?
There's a lake there. So I'm saying we should try and get a dedication back to Mr. Frigario with a sign that says at Silver Lake.
Frigario Park at Silver Lake.
At Silver Lake. Yeah, I think that would go a long way, but that's what I'm talking about, the retro. I don't think the Frigarios need to.
The Frigario Park was designated by council resolution previously, so that's already been authorized.
Right.
Similar to the playgrounds at 15th and Silver were authorized previously.
Right.
This would be for, I get the meeting now.
Just to, there's the Heisman gazebo at Frigario Park.
Yes.
There's the playground at Frigario Park, and there's the garden at Frigario Park. So, I mean, the playground's designated to one person, the gazebo's designated to a person, and but the whole park is.
I guess it's a matter of just replacing the plaque.
Yeah, we're relocating it. You know, when it was by the playground, it was used as a jumping, climbing on boulder.
Right. Oh, yes.
So we probably should move it away from the playground and where it's easier to see, where it's dedicated to Mr.
Maybe
Frigario.
right flagpole, maybe over the flagpole.
I was thinking maybe up or the top where the path starts, where next to the path starts, North Lake Drive with,
Okay.
South Lake Drive.
So if it's agreeable, you can consider this tonight, adopt it tonight, that lets us get the process started, the division. And at our next meeting, I think it's on June 16th, we could have the map ready for you to consider about the placements.
Mark, you okay?
How does this resolution differ from the process we already have in place?
These might both work too.
The process that exists through borough ordinances is on a case-by-case basis, where in order to plant a tree on public property and have it dedicated to someone, you need to apply directly to the mayor and council and have a resolution authorizing it. This would create essentially a pre-approved program through which council has authorized the placement and dedication of trees in specific areas that's been blessed by the Shade Tree Commission, so we know things will grow there. And essentially, you're pre-authorizing, for lack of a better word, a certain step of these memorials.
So instead of needing a resolution every time,
Correct.
you just need to fill out a form.
Yes.
Okay.
And most importantly, everybody gets treated the same.
Right.
Yes.
And will we have to revise the existing ordinance after this is in place to reflect that?
I don't believe so.
No, I'm good with this. And one of the questions, I mean, depending on what kind of spaces we come up with the shade condition, suppose we run out of space.
We will.
We will. So would it be possible, perhaps in the future, to look for other opportunities for people?
To give you a sense,
Rush.
the boardwalk program, and if you've been up on the boardwalk, you see how many benches are up there.
I know.
Has a wait list of 84 right now.
Really?
Yeah.
It's incredibly popular, so I would anticipate a similar reaction to this kind of program.
So is it going to be first come, first served, the person that's been on the waiting list the longest, or how?
My recommendation is that we do offer people who have been waiting an opportunity to participate, but it has to be first come, first served.
Yeah, we
There's no other
can't put
way to do
84
it.
trees on Silver Lake, it's going to look like a forest.
And could we also, I mean, we mentioned it before about Doewood Park with the bricks. You know, that's just a really nice way to do a memorial to your family, to a friend,
Yes.
to a
We
loved
can
one.
encourage that.
I don't know if we could possibly in the future think of another place to do bricks. Piano
So,
Plaza.
great example, that actually has its own dedication by rider. We had to do our own dedication by rider to do bricks at Doewood Park. So that's how specific New Jersey law is.
And we still have that.
We still have it,
Okay.
it's still open, but we can encourage that, and if folks want to consider a similar program somewhere else, we could talk about it.
Good point, Jen. We're talking about new trees or new benches. What about trees that are already planted? You know, there's Dogway Park, maybe someone that's a veteran or something like that may want one of those trees that's already there growing. Could we do one of those trees?
I don't see why not.
As long as it conforms with the standards for the memorials that you come up with,
Right.
we can like that.
And they would all, and I guess what we would have to do is, when we're figuring out what the fees might be, there'd be a fee for the tree, and there'd be a fee for the plaque, and if there's already a tree, all they need to do is pay for the plaque. Makes
Yeah,
sense?
this dedication order is a pass-through, so they'll pay the exact cost of
Of
whatever
whatever it
they're
is.
doing, and then it'll flow, this allows it to flow through the town without causing the auditor.
Okay.
Because there's other trees in Cleary Park already growing, we could probably do that, to try to accommodate as many people as possible.
Yeah.
You know, there might, someone who wants to go with a tree that's already growing and it's live, they don't have to worry about a new tree not making it through a winter or two. Great.
And there has been families that already have planted trees, so if they've already planted a tree, they should be able to put a plaque up there.
Yeah. Okay.
So should we add that to tonight's agenda? Do you want to vote on it separately?
Yeah, let's do that, but Greg, you're going to have to walk me through that, adding this new resolution.
So you just need a motion to add the resolution, and it will be number, Madam Clerk, number,
Do you want to add it to resolutions by consent?
yeah, you can say the consent agenda, it just doesn't have a number on it. so
Number 6
whatever.
on the consent agenda?
I'm sorry.
It'll be number 6 on the consent agenda?
Yeah, so we just need a motion adding the resolution, item number 6 on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Vote on that, and then you'll get the consent agenda and just roll through when you get to it.
Can we do that now so that we
Yes, you may.
Okay, can I have a motion to add resolution number 2018 on trees to add it to the consent agenda? Do I have a
Make the
second?
motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Super. Good. Okay, next, petitions. Anybody out in the audience, petition for the council? If you do, please come forward. Seeing none, we move right along to approval of minutes.
I move that the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 15th be approved as recorded, and that a copy thereof be posted on the borough's website. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next, reports of council. We'll go with you, Councilman Levis.
All right, as you all remember, Memorial Day weekend, we had a really significant rainfall. We had some sewer backup into the Shark River that has since dissipated. After which I met with Mike Campbell, our supervisor of the DPW. Sorry, a lot of acronyms going on here. I also met with the representatives from the South Monmouth Regional Sewer Authority. One of the problems that we believe led to some of this backup was that the pump capacity over on Ocean Ave couldn't handle the inflow that we had from this rain event. We got about 5 inches of rain in a day. It's a month's worth of rain. And I saw the charts from this event, and we basically spiked to about 3 million gallons per day.
3 million gallons of water.
Gallons of waste through our sewage system.
And it's usually 900,000?
Around that.
It's usually around 900,000 for this time of year. So they suspect that there's some serious infiltration coming in. The last time a real major study was done on our sewer system was about 15 years ago. Things may have changed since then. We did make repairs based on some of the recommendations, but there's still probably a lot to do. So I think it would be advisable for us to consider looking at televising the entire system and finding out where our problems are. Because we have one of the highest consumers for sewage out of all the other municipalities in this.
Which are?
Wall Township, Spring Lake Heights, Spring Lake, Lacoma is one of them as well, yeah. Now, we're sort of at a disadvantage because we're one of the lowest municipalities, so we have we have a really low water table, exactly. So we're more susceptible to the infiltration than say a township like Wall, who's all the way high. When it rains, all the water's going to mostly go downhill and affect municipalities like us. Now, the way we pay for our sewer is based on a percentage of use. So if we use more, we pay more. The budget for the sewer authority doesn't change. If we use 50% of that capacity, we pay 50% of the bill. If we use less, then the other municipalities around here will end up paying more and we pay less. So there's definite cost advantage to us looking at this, and the other advantage is we can try to avoid situations like we had over Memorial Day weekend, where we do have raw sewage, mixed with rainwater going into the sewer system. Because it doesn't make sense for that sewer plant to be treating rainwater and groundwater, and even the Shark River, if we look at the areas where it was. The other thing we need to advise is that homeowners should not have their sump pumps or their gutters pumped into the municipal sanitary sewer. It's against the law, and all it does is add to these fiascos. It backs up the sewers, and we don't need to do it.
And if people do, can they please contact Borough Hall to find out how to change that?
Yes.
Okay, it's illegal and it's a big detriment.
And it's worth noting that, as Councilman Levis points out, as we pursue an investigation of our sewer system, one of the things that we will do with appropriate notice is testing of situations like that to identify what homeowners are tying into the sanitary sewer. So it's advisable that you rectify the situation before we get too far down the road.
Years ago, they did the smoke test, and it indicated who was violating it, and it was
Yeah.
a little upsetting. But Mark, can you, in your report, confirm that it was only a backup and not a break in the sewer line? I read in the Asbury Park Press today that it was a break in the sewer line at K Street, but that was not the case.
There was nothing confirmed that it was a break. Really what it was is the system surged. I mean, it can only handle so much flow. Everything gets pumped to our pumping station over on Ocean Ave and then gets directed to Smyrna. So everything is going that way, towards the east. So basically what happened was the pumps were at full capacity. They couldn't pump all the infiltration that was coming in. They tried to pump sewage, which normally wouldn't fill up the volume of the pipe, but in this case, it's filled up the volume of the pipe, and then you can only put so much velocity through some of these pipes. And our pipes are rather old, so I think it would behoove us to really take a close look at them and try to get cameras down there and do a real great assessment of what we have.
Will we have to apply for a grant there for that, Tommy?
We're pursuing a couple different measures right now. So we had conversations as recently as this afternoon about a couple different opportunities for either funding or financing. And this would be done through the water sewer utility, so it would give us some flexibility.
I mean, the cost of that would probably help us in paying less to Smyrna, right?
I would very much rather pay X dollars a year on investigating the problem than X dollars a year for Smyrna to process stormwater.
There's a joke there somewhere. Mark?
No, thanks, man. Just one question for Mike along those lines. I noticed that the stormwater runoff, that drain that we have at 13th Avenue really wasn't had any water coming out. Do we have a problem with that?
One at 13th, I'm sorry, where?
The 13th Avenue beach, where our 12th Avenue rocks, where the stormwater usually comes out when we have a heavy rain.
Yeah, there was no issue there.
Oh, no, we had no problems. I didn't see any water really coming out of it normally.
No, it was not a problem, there was no issue there, that was flowing. The issue came, as Councilman said before, we were just surcharged all the water up and nothing, if you opened up the manholes, as we unfortunately were doing, everything was right up to the top and just moved, everything was moving, but moving at a slower pace. So everything was flowing, there were no breaks, there were no anything else, that it's just we were at maximum capacity. Smyrna was at maximum capacity. We were on the phone, we were meeting with Smyrna down at the plant. We met with the county, we met with the county health department. We did everything we're supposed to do, but again, we were at maximum capacity. It went from, I think it was 880,000 gallons before the storm to 3.2 million gallons right after the storm. So again,
A lot of water all at once.
yeah, it was just a lot to handle.
But you can confirm there was no break.
We did not find any break.
Okay.
I can confirm we did not find any break, nor did anybody else. No agency found break. It was just surcharge. And that's what Smyrna, we've had meetings with, not only the councilman, but we met with Smyrna, and that's what they believe also.
And the other thing is, I just want to congratulate Mary Krabs on the police department, DPW, the great job they did for the seafood festival. And even though it wasn't great weather, they all come together and did a great job down there. And the only other thing that I want to bring up is the Harbor Commission was talking about putting maybe like city bikes down at the marina for the transient boats that maybe, and I'm not sure how the council feels about doing that. I know we would have to go out for RFP or something like that, but before they pursue it, I was just wondering how the council members feel about, pursuing something like that. They think that,
We had looked into that 3 years ago?
We bid it twice,
Yeah, we looked into doing that throughout the whole town.
and we could have been a little bit ahead of the city bike-esque line bike curve, if I'm honest, because the two times previously that we bid it, we received bidders, but they never materialized into actual services, which unfortunately can happen with a startup. I think now that there's more and more examples of these bike sharing programs out there being used in other towns, that we might have a better result.
yeah.
I think it would be helpful.
There is bike share. I went to a meeting in Bradley Beach and about 2 weeks ago, and the gentleman that is running the bike share program is very interested in coordinating all the towns in the one program. And he would love to come to a workshop meeting and talk to us about it. Point Pleasant Beach this summer is going to be using his system. It's a different system than what is at Asbury Park. But I think it'd be, can't remember his name. but he wants to come to a workshop, so would you like to listen to him?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I mean, it's coming down the road. I mean, it's not like a tourist type bike share. It's for when someone gets off the train and they can ride the bike to the boardwalk, or they can ride around town. So it sounds very professionally thought out on his part. And again, I'll give him a call back and set up a workshop session for it to come. Great.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have. Councilman Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't really have anything much to report on, except I did want to share with everybody that I was a chaperone last weekend with the Belmar Elementary School 8th grade when they took their trip to Washington, D.C. Now, those of you who remember, this was a yearly event at the school, really forever, until 9/11. And after that, for security concerns, they stopped taking the overnight trip into the nation's capital, and this was the first time they've done it in almost 20 years. Officer Speakman came with the trip, and I wanted to commend him. He was great with the kids. He was great with the chaperones. It was really quite an experience. So for a lot of our students, it's maybe the only time that they're going to see the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial, and we were able to take the students to see the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington Cemetery, and I was completely impressed not only with the ceremony, I've seen it before, but with the way our students behaved. They were respectful. They were, I think they were very affected by what they saw. I think they understood part of what was there. They saw the Vietnam Memorial, and our guide was able to find us the name of a service person who was killed during the Vietnam War, who was from Belmar. We were able to find that name on the wall. We had a couple of students who had family names that they were supposed to look for, and they found them. And we also took the students to the Holocaust Museum. I got to tell you, I was a little nervous about that because it's not like they pull punches for 13-year-olds at this place. It's not for the faint of heart, but I think our students were respectful, and I think because of the work that the teachers at the school have done, all the students are very familiar with Anne Frank. They read the Anne Frank book as part of their English language program. I know I was very affected. I think they were too, and I just wanted to share with you how proud I am of our students from Belmar, the way they acted on this trip, and really, I hope they get a chance to go again next year. It's very worthwhile. That's my report.
Speaking of that, my daughter's in 7th grade, and we're already raising money, believe it or not, for a year forward, because it's quite expensive to get all the children and the staff, chaperones down there. So the school will be doing a bike raffle, so if anybody's interested in tickets, please let us know. Yes, I spoke to a lot of 8th graders that went, and they just had such a great time. Just want to thank everybody that came out and voted. Wanted to mention with the nice weather that our parks, again, we have 8 new ones over the past few years, are just packed with children who are having a blast. I want to thank DPW for our softball and baseball fields. The seasons are over for the schools, but they were just in impeccable shape. So thank you very much for that. Summertime, it's the new exhibit at the Arts Council, goes through June 22nd. It's really, really neat, lots of summertime thing, and it's like the world's largest flip-flop you'll see there. So everybody can relate to those type of pieces. And most importantly, Strollo's is open. And shop, eat, dine, and buy local. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to mention that tomorrow, the Department of, Transportation will be here from 4 to 7, talking about the Main Street Bridge. The only option now that they've agreed to is they will replace the bridge, just like the bridge we have now, but they're going to replace it. So that's excellent. That's what we want. Now, I guess Greg or Colleen, I'm going to have to talk to you. if they're gonna replace a bridge, is there any way a municipality like Belmar and Avon can get the state to hire a bridge building company and not just take the lowest bidder? I mean, because I remember the 35 bridge took a long, long time to be built. And one of the bidders who lost built a bridge over the Raritan River faster than the Highway 35 bridge. So in other words, to save our Main Street, we're going to need a replacement of the bridge, but to have them rebuild it as quickly as possible. And a bridge building company is what we need. Can you influence them?
There has been some evolution of public bidding since that project, and there are mechanisms that the state now has at its disposal to do price and other factors and weigh experience in specific kinds of construction. It's been brought up, Mayor McGovern brought it up to the DOT at our last meeting with them. They know it's a concern of ours, and certainly this project in its infancy, but it will be discussed, and we'll do whatever we can to encourage them to structure their bid specs appropriately so that they can have consideration in terms of area of expertise. So
Great.
we will talk to them about
So the meeting is in this room tomorrow from 4 to 7, and please come out, and when you come up to the microphone, talk about that you want a quality bridge building construction company. Put the pressure on them to make sure that, we don't want someone building a bridge for the first time, the first bridge they build. We want something experienced. Next, we talked about the Memorial Weekend rains, and I just want to talk about the outfall pipe, which was just completed. And I drove over to Lake Como, and at the west end of the lake, that water was coming in from Wall Township that if we had a lifeguard there, it would have been a red flag day. There was so much water coming in so hard. So I drove down to the outfall pipe and met Colleen, Mike was there, John McGuire was there, the engineer. And looking at that outfall pipe, it looked like Niagara Falls. It was taking in so much water that if we had not had it, sure enough, I believe that section of Belmar, even though we provide very, very little rainfall into Lake Como, most of the water comes from out of town. We saved it from flooding over. And the A Street line, which we put in a couple of years ago, I just got a little, maybe 2-3 inches in my basement, and that only lasts a couple hours. The A Street line works great. So looks like we've got a handle on the flooding, except K Street, which is I think geographically the lowest section in town. Yes, nothing we can do that. Even if we dredge Shark River deeper, Atlantic Ocean wouldn't matter. This Friday, our Belmar Beach Patrol is going to be giving a water safety program to the Belmar Elementary School, which is going to be very beneficial to all those students at Belmar. They'll learn from our beach patrol, our lifeguards. They're going to ask them questions. So it's a great program. I just wish we could give a similar program to adults, especially adults that don't know how to swim very well and want to go in the water when they see other swimmers in the water. So that's kudos to our beach patrol going out to the school and giving a program. The pathway on North Boulevard, now that the construction is done, we're going to try and finish that pathway as soon as possible. I think we received today or tomorrow 20 tons of stone, and next week another 20 tons of stone. Coming, Mike?
We're actually picking up 20 tons tomorrow and 20 tons Friday, and I'll have it done by Friday.
Great. We'll help the people over there on North Boulevard after they park, getting out and walking safely to the street, or just walking the dogs. Great job building that. And I did go on my phone and found out the Jersey Bike Share program is run by Mr. Fred Brody. So we'll reach out to Mr. Brody and schedule him to the workshop session. And that's all I have to report.
Right, I have one more thing.
No. Sure
It
enough.
reminded me because you mentioned the K Street flooding. I went to a meeting last Thursday with the Army Corps of Engineers and the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. they're working on a study, and bear with me because it's a long one, the New Jersey Back Bay's Coastal Storm Risk Management Feasibility Study.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, I'll try. What they're trying to do is assess the feasibility of implementing a system-wide coastal storm risk management solution for the entire New Jersey coastline, not just Belmar.
Yeah.
What they're going to be looking at is projects such as storm surge barriers placed at Shark River Inlet, Manasquan Inlet, and Barnegat Inlet, effectively blocking off those 3 tidal inlets from any type of superstorm Sandy type of event. We're also going to be looking at levees and flood walls as well, more on like a local basis. It's really just a feasibility study at this point, but the end goal is that by beginning of 2019, they should have a draft of the study, and they're going to present it to the Chief of the Army Corps of Engineers, who can then make a decision on the study. We're hoping to have that final report to the chief and have a decision made by 2021. And this will all need congressional approval to get funding for it, but they're going ahead and they're going to be conducting this study. There's going to be a public meeting in September of 2018 to sort of go over what their findings are. They've been doing this for a while, so they've got a lot of research now. But it sounds like there's some very big options that they have on the table that could have a major impact on the state of New Jersey.
Great. Did they talk about, when you said back bays, because Shark River is not filling up from sand from the Atlantic Ocean. It's filling up from the silt from the Shark River. And they've got to do some work in the back bays that would collect that silt before it gets into the...
So dredging came up big. You know, there were mayors from Avon and Neptune and Manasquan as well. And one of the things that this study isn't going to address is not going to address dredging. It's not going to address dredging, and it's not going to address non-tidal lakes. Which would be our lakes. Lake Como is a non-tidal lake.
Okay.
It's not connected to the ocean. So they're not going to focus on anything like that. Really what they're looking at is trying to get the biggest economic impact at the least amount of cost. Now, Belmar alone, we have about $590 million in real estate assets that are in a danger zone according to their 100-year flood projections. So that puts us in the Shark River in a pretty big limelight for a project like this.
Okay.
Because obviously they want to try to mitigate the damage that can happen here as much as possible.
And you went to that meeting?
I was there.
Okay. Thank you. Very good.
And just so people know, we have been asked in the past if we could put an outfall pipe in the Shark River. So you understand that just can't happen, right? Right? We would do it if we could, if it worked. But thank you, Mark. That's good information.
Okay. Public session on resolutions, only on the agenda. We will continue to have a public session at the end of this meeting. If anyone out in the audience would like to come forward, you know, the members from the FOBH, you don't have to stay around to the end of the, you can take off. Appreciate it. Same for the council reports up. So if you have anything on the resolutions, please come forward to the microphone, state your name and your address. Seeing none, I would make a motion to close the public session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Colleen, should I read these resolutions individually?
Yes, I apologize in advance, but if you could read these individually, we'll go one by one.
I am going to, because these are ABC actions, most of them, and as a professional musician, I do business with some of the licensed premises in the borough. Out of an abundance of caution and the desire to avoid any appearance of impropriety, I'm going to recuse myself from these actions.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion for the resolution authorizing issuance of a plenary retail distribution license for the Day Sang Corporation, trading as Little Red Barn for the period ending June 30th, 2019. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Dover?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
I make a motion to pass a resolution authorizing issuance of seasonal retail consumption license number 1306-34-011-008 to SLBD Associates LLC to be held in pocket, period ending June 30th, 2019. Do I have a second?
Second?
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Colleen, could you just explain to what held in pocket means?
Held in pocket essentially means not active.
Okay. Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Next, I make a motion to pass the resolution authorizing the issuance of a plenary retail consumption license number 13066-32-015-007 to Fusao LLC, trading as La Dolce Vita for the period ending June 30th, 2019. Do I have a second?
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Next, I make a motion to pass the resolution authorizing issuance of a plenary retail consumption license number 1306-33-010-006 to Waterview Pavilion Incorporated, trading as Riverview Pavilion, Waterview Pavilion, for the period ending June 30th, 2019. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Next, do I have a motion to pass the resolution authorizing issuance of a plenary retail consumption license number 1306-33-001-010 for Chefs International Incorporated for the period ending June 30th, 2019.
Second?
Just before we vote on it, can I ask, is this Anchor?
Yes.
This is for Anchor.
Anchor.
Did we straighten that from last year? There was a time about when the band could play outside, and we were going to try to
Tighten that up?
tighten it
I
up
believe
to-
so. I don't know.
We were supposed to tighten it up
Back in
to
Thomasville.
10 o'clock, so
It says
it would
10
match our
o'clock.
I
noise
think it
ordinance.
says 10 o'clock, yes.
It's 10 o'clock, you can change it.
Yes, he has my copy, but I think it says 10.
It says 11.
Oh,
This says 11. And it also, in one of the, what do you call it, restrictions we have on it, it says held to a three-piece band or a DJ with amplification. Tom, do you know what quantifies the amount of amplification? Or is it, it could be amplification, but too loud.
It could be,
So do we have to be a little stricter with how much amplification? Do we have to put a number on it, or?
I think usually if we receive a complaint, we're going to respond and tell them to lower it. And then you have the three-piece without heavy percussion together.
But that's pretty subjective, don't you think?
It is.
Would your guys rather a number to go by that they could, see what the level of noise or level of amplification?
Well, I think we'd have to sit down with them and listen to their sound system to determine what that might be where, we can hear ourselves. And again, it depends too on the night, the wind
Okay.
and everything else, so.
Would your guys go up to the bar, or would you go across the street or half a block down to judge the noise? I mean, how would you do it?
Well, we would check it from all angles, of course.
All angles. So right there and across the street and half a block down to see, okay.
I just think it should coincide with our 10 o'clock noise ordinance, especially with the music being outside.
Greg, is that a modification that they can make tonight?
Well, I think you guys talked about two different things. I was looking up the code. So the noise parameters and those standards are already in your code.
They are.
So the police would have the ability to write a summons in that regard,
Regardless
like
of
they would
decibel.
for a house party or anything else. The liquor license restrictions are are enforced not by the local police, but a seal or deny a license or have to suspend their license.
But could they make a correction on tonight's resolution, changing the 11 o'clock to 10 o'clock?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I just want to let you know, the noise ordinance addresses, gives them the ample authority to go in there, not necessarily kind of dependent upon the restrictions in there. But you can change 10 to 11.
Yeah, I just think it should coincide with our noise ordinance, because the music's outside.
Right.
So if you'd like to make that modification, if somebody could make a motion to modify the resolution
Mark, you want to do that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to modify it to 10 PM instead of 11 PM.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we'll do a new motion.
I'm so sorry, if I could just clarify, does that mean the band stops at 10, or they can keep playing if it's low?
That means outside music and sound.
No outside music?
And that would affect two bars, Anchor,
We're discussing anchors
and there's another one that also has that,
as an 11 o'clock in it. Let me see.
I thought when we were doing it last year, it was only the one.
It's on 10th Avenue Burrito as well.
yeah, because,
No later than 11.
Yeah, I think it really should coincide.
and they're right across from the senior citizen building.
And the noise ordinance 16.32 says 10 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay,
So this brings it in,
we have a vote to modify chef's license to 10 p.m. When we get to the 10th Avenue Burrito license, I'll remind you to make a modification.
okay.
Okay.
Do we have a new motion to adopt this resolution?
Okay, I make a motion to adopt resolution authorizing, okay, lost my place here. Resolution authorizing issuance of a plenary retail consumption license number 1306-33-001-010 for Chefs International Incorporated for the period ending June 30th, 2019. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Next, I have a motion to pass the resolution authorizing issuance of a seasonal retail consumption license to DJs LLC, trading as DJs for the period ending June 30th, 2019. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Next, I make a motion to pass the resolution authorizing issuance of a retail consumption license to the Irish Curse LLC, DBA 10th Avenue Burrito.
So yeah, first, actually, we
Right.
want to make a motion to modify
Okay.
this license with a 10 p.m. restriction on outdoor music. Is there a second? Or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, with that modification, I make a motion to pass the resolution authorizing issuance of a retail consumption license to the Irish Curse LLC, DBA 10th Avenue Burrito, license number 1306-33-007-003, for the period ending June 30th, 2019. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Next, I make a motion to pass a resolution authorizing issuance of a seasonal plenary retail consumption alcoholic beverage license for CSL Belmar LLC for the period ending June 30th, 2019, to be held in pocket. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Next, I have I make a motion to pass a resolution appoint, okay, Tom, I'm sorry. Now that Tom's here, I make a motion to pass a resolution appointing special police officers for 2018. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Osborne?
Yes.
Councilman Levin?
Yes.
Okay, for the consent agenda, all matters listed in the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Borough Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If a discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Is there anybody that wants to pull anything? Okay, then I make a resolution, make a motion to pass the resolutions by consent. Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Osborne?
I just have two questions on the bill list. The $53,000 that's going to the Gibbons firm, are we getting any insurance money back on that yet?
Yes, we're working with the insurance company to get our deductions back, basically.
Did we get anything?
It-
I know the bills. are
Honestly,
going
we're
up.
using these bills to offset deductibles on other cases, so that we're not paying money out on other cases, but we are working very actively with the judge to make sure we're getting every penny we're entitled to.
Okay, then I have a question on Mazer, the $362,000.
Yes,
Most of it goes to the Lake Como stormwater.
yes,
We're going to get reimbursed on that through the
yes,
the
we're
grant.
working with the NJDEP on those bills.
All right. And did we get anything back?
On the major bills, not yet, it's a
On
reimbursement.
the whole project?
Oh, yeah, no, payments are flowing very well.
All right, okay. All right, yes.
Councilman Levin?
Yes.
Next, ordinances, second reading and public hearing. If there's anybody out in the audience that would like to come up and talk about ordinance 2018-8, please come up to the microphone, please.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mayor McGovern, council members. My name is Robert Moore. I'm an attorney at the law office of Paul V. Fernicol and Associates. We represent the Mayfair Hotel and its principals. I have with me here Mr. Ken and Paul Entwistle. They are brothers and principals of the hotel. We are here to object to the passage of this ordinance as it pertains to the restriction of the parking directly in front of the hotel, specifically section 19-41, restricted parking. The restricted use is listed as police, fire, EMS, lifeguards, and water rescue, and that's on the west side of Ocean Avenue, from the southwest corner of 10th Avenue to a point 151 feet south on the western side of Ocean Avenue, consisting of 4 parking spaces. That consists of both the 4 parking spaces as well as a designated loading zone that the hotel guests use. So we respectfully object to the passage of this because it works such a detriment to the Mayfair Hotel as opposed to the benefits to the township itself. The fact that the spaces are designated on the west side of Ocean Avenue, which is obviously across from the beach where the EMS and lifeguards and those type of emergency workers would be providing services, anytime they want to get to their vehicles, they have to cross over Ocean Avenue, which is obviously very busy, especially in the summer months. As of right now, we question whether or not the council coordinated with either the county or the emergency services themselves, because it's our understanding that these spaces actually don't meet the requirements of the emergency services and largely are unoccupied for most of the day. Again, this works a tremendous detriment to the Mayfair Hotel. While we do object to the passage of this ordinance, we would at the very least respectfully request it be tabled for at least another session or two in order for my office, the representatives, to engage in some kind of colloquy with the council, the township, to see if there's any kind of wiggle room, any kind of amicable agreement that could come up that would serve everyone's purposes and would not work such a harm to the hotel itself. Ken, if you want to add anything?
Yes, I first moved to Belmar in 1970 when my family purchased that hotel. Lived here for nearly 30 years before purchasing a home in Wall. I currently live in Wall Township. However, I'm a retired federal service employee. Worked for the Department of Defense, had a career there, but I am at the hotel every day, 7 days a week, 8 to 10 hours, it depends. We are turning the hotel around. It's, we get neighbors come in, look at the rooms. They want to, when they have visitors come to their place, they don't have room for them. They consider putting them up at the hotel, but they wanted to see what the hotel was like inside. They're very impressed. People are coming to us and talking to us. We want to be Belmar's hotel. We want to be the hotel that you can be proud of. But this is sort of hamstringing us, because if you can imagine people coming to check into the hotel and having to go find a parking spot, far away, and bring their bags all the way from there, it's very difficult to rent rooms when they have that type of a problem. We would just like, I'm a reasonable person. I just would like the opportunity to kind of have some conversation about this. It just sort of happened to us on the first day of the Memorial Day weekend. We had no idea.
Sir, did you give your name and address? Well, we know your address.
This is
Name
my
to
brother
the
Paul.
clerk?
My name's Ken, and this is my brother Paul.
Yeah. Ken, your last name?
And Twistle.
Got it? Okay, sir.
Pretty much echo what, my name is Paul Atmasona, pretty much echo what my brother said. And first off, I'd like to thank all of you for the opportunity to let us come in and speak on our behalf. And I know you guys are busy, and I definitely wouldn't want your job. Every day you wake up, you got problems and more problems. And I know when you make decisions, I was a government employee for 34 years and Cub Scouts for 9 years, Boy Scouts and all, but I know when you make these decisions, you guys got a lot on your plate. And sometimes you make a decision and you don't really understand the ramifications of it all the way down into the weeds. But and I appreciate that, and I thank each one of you. And I love living in Belmar, and I love what you guys do with the town. We've never had a situation like this, but it will severely impact our business. It will definitely crush us, especially if we don't have loading zones. We can't have people double park and the police tell them to move with all the traffic and all that stuff. So I just think when the decision was made, they didn't give us the opportunity to come in and express our opinion. And I just want to thank you for this forum to come in and express it now, and hope that we can continue these conversations. So from that, I thank each and every one of you. Thank you.
Can I just ask a question, Mayor?
Certainly.
If a loading zone was put in place, would that help you? Or you need all the parking back, or what?
Well,
it's
the parking is helpful also. I mean, right now, the whole area is vacated. It just sits there empty for most of the day. And then, I'm not sure what's going to happen in the winter time, but, it's prime parking for the hotel. It's right in front of the hotel. And there's like 2 vehicles using it for a few hours during the day. They come in the morning and they leave early afternoon, and the whole area is just sitting there vacant all night long. People that stay at the hotel could be, using that space. So they don't have to get up in the morning and move, or pay a meter or something like that. I mean, it's only a few spaces, but it would definitely be helpful.
Would 9 to 5 be okay? No parking there from 9 to 5, or just for emergency vehicles, 9 to 5, or you're objecting to that also?
Well, we kind of prefer the vehicles being around the pavilion, and that makes sense. In front of the hotel, it's not it looks like a problem might be going on all the time with emergency vehicles there all the time. I mean, it's not a good look to, make people feel good about checking into this hotel.
If the spaces are free for you to use, they're not necessarily going to be for your guests, right? Like
Right.
any public, any
Correct.
visitor, resident, anybody park there.
Yes, I mean, that's how it's been. It's been 1 loading zone space in 4 spaces. I'll be honest with you, we do park cars there so that when guests check in, we can pull our car away and let them have the space. Parking is a problem in Belmar.
No. Shocked.
And I'm Paul, but the spaces were across the street for the lifeguards and all, and then they moved them over. They still have 3 MMS emergency vehicle spaces on their side, on the Ocean Avenue side. and they added a concessionaire spot for the person that leases the area in the pavilion. We don't have any kind of provisions like that for us. And so, it's just a huge impact for us.
Thank you for coming forward. What do you think there, Tom?
I'm just wondering if it's possible, I mean, we definitely need a place to keep those emergency vehicles. Like, I understand your concerns, but we have to make sure we have the emergency vehicles accessible, and keeping them on that side of the street, it just makes it a little easier from a staging point of view. However, I don't see why that space would be unavailable to you after hours, because we're not keeping the emergency vehicles there. So perhaps we could, amend the ordinance so that it would be restricted to emergency vehicles only during the hours we need the vehicles there, and then it could be available to the public after a certain hour. And I'd also wonder what the possibility might be. The loading zone spot was there was one loading zone spot right in front of the hotel, right?
Right. And it's been there since the hotel was built in '29.
Can you think of another place where we might be able to put a loading zone spot that would work for you? I mean, maybe on 10th Avenue, around the corner?
I mean, that's right in front of the hotel. They just roll their suitcases right up in the building.
Jen?
And the other thing is they have the emergency vehicles across the street, which means if they back out, they can go left or right. If they come out of the diagonal parking that's on the west side, they have to make a U-turn during the summer with all the traffic and try and turn around and go the other way. But they have 3 spaces there already across the street, so.
Jen?
And they moved 4 lifeguard spots off of Ocean Avenue over to our spot. So,
I mean, it just seems to me that it would be appropriate for the emergency vehicles to back into the boardwalk so they can pull out either direction, go down 10th Avenue or wherever they're going without having to make a U-turn or across the street to get to their vehicles. Just like a better, more appropriate fit. I'm just looking at it from a logical standpoint.
Colleen, can you just clarify how many spots will be in front of the hotel and how many will we be using additionally down at all on the east side?
So there were 8 designated on the east side for various concessionaires, first responders, and whatnot. This essentially reduces that down to 3 on the boardwalk side and moves 4 of them to the west side. And it is just worth pointing out, because it has been mentioned from a first responder's perspective, what would be most appropriate. This was the recommendation of your first responders. So this is...
We have a lifeguard truck, a first aid rig, and a police. We only need 3, right? We don't need...
Well, it's also, 10th Avenue Pavilion is also
the
used
concessionaire.
as a police substation, there's a concession in there. So there are many different arms of first responders that utilize that pavilion. So again, these spaces were seen as a reduction from what we had before, and at the request of public safety were placed on the west side.
These wouldn't be parking spaces for borough employees to use, right?
First responders, yeah, so if it was water rescue call, spaces that are available for water rescue to easily park to and respond, police officers, things of that nature.
Of the 7 spots, 3 east, 4 west, how often, or is there consistency in how often they're occupied, or could it be set times?
It's really, I mean, we're in the early stages of summer right now of the season. Certainly how often they're used on July 4th weekend is going to be very different from how they're used on a rainy Wednesday in May.
We've got a lot of yellow lines. Any way to create additional space, or they're there obviously for a reason? I just know that there's some, I wouldn't say extra areas, but
in terms of distance from the corners, you mean?
Correct.
No, we don't have much flexibility.
I was
there
thinking
at
on
all.
the east side, so okay.
If I could just make a comment, only because I live there, I see what's going on. Basically, the lifeguards are parking there all day. I mean, they're actually parking their trucks there all day. There hasn't been any ambulances or police cars that could even get in there. And really, if we made spots on 10th Avenue, if some of the head lifeguards could park, I mean, they would be better off on 10th Avenue because they're not really emergency vehicles. And, it just happens that I live there and I see them parking there every day. And I haven't seen an ambulance or a police car there because lifeguards get there at 9 in the morning, they take up all the spots there, right in front of the hotel, and they just sit there all day. And those guys are working the beach. They don't need those spots. The emergency vehicles need the spots, but so far nobody's been using them. They get there at 9 in the morning and park. The lifeguard truck stays on the east side of the street, and the police cars pull up. They come and go. They're all on the east side. So right now, all those spots are being taken out. That's why they do have a hardship where at least we should have a loading zone. But maybe if we need lifeguard parking, regular lifeguard parking could be on 10th Avenue. So
10th Avenue was considered initially, and I think there was a concern of it encroaching into the neighborhoods. So that's why it was decided to recommend it on Ocean Avenue.
Yeah.
But it could be.
But I mean, they're parking. It seems like the lifeguards are just pulling up and parking there all day, and it's not.
How's your driveway?
My driveway?
Councilman Levis?
I would be in favor of tabling this to get one more look at it. I mean, we've got a little bit more time before the summer season starts and we get into it, so I would be in favor of that.
Same with me. I liked your point with emergency vehicles out in front of your hotel there all the time. People are going to get the wrong perception. I think we can sit down and talk about this a little bit more. So I'm in favor of tabling this until we can talk more. I know Greg and Colleen, you're probably going to punch me for afterwards, but I think this is, he's doing a great job with I appreciate I remember the Mayfair in the early 70s, and it's come a long way. Done a good job. So I'd like to table this for now. I have a motion to table this.
I'll make the motion.
I second it.
And you got a sense of humor.
I'll second.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Gover?
Yes.
Councilman Osborne?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Good job. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all you do for us.
I guess we would need to set up a time, sir, to probably sit down and go over with us what might work for you, might work for us, probably a little give and take,
Absolutely.
Okay? So,
Should contact Joe.
That'd be great.
Great.
Good job being with them, we'll figure it out.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
thank you.
Thank all of you, have a pleasant day.
Okay, the second, so we're getting to table that. Second reading and public hearing for ordinance 2018-9. Anyone in the public want to come up to the boardwalk, microphone and talk about the boardwalk? Seeing none, then I make a motion to pass ordinance 2018-9, an ordinance of the Borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank NJSA 40A:4-45.14. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, so there should be a motion to close the hearing and then a motion to adopt.
okay,
So we'll take that as a motion to close the hearing.
yes.
I'll second.
So I jumped the gun, huh?
Mark on that.
Okay,
And we'll do a motion to adopt now.
okay, I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2018-9, an ordinance of the Borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank NJSA 40A:4-45.14. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Gover?
Yes.
Council Walker?
Yes.
Council Levin?
Yes.
Okay, first reading and introduction to ordinance number 2018-10, an ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 40 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Belmar, sections 40-3.14, fees. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Chairman Dover?
Yes.
Council Walker?
Yes.
Councilman Levin?
Yes.
Also, for the first reading and introduction, ordinance number 2018-11, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 19, Traffic One-Way Streets. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Chairman Dover?
Yes.
Council Walker?
Just one question. C Street is, going to go back to two-way after September? Or, I see it's on here that says C Street northbound, entire length, May 1st to September 30th. What was it, C Street, one-way?
Council, I can explain. So I flipped the streets 19th and 20th back and forth so many times now that the clerk and I had the wrong versions of the ordinance. So the one that I provided to you earlier today actually had 3 drafts ago. So it goes back, C is on the year-round list, the one fill in line.
Okay.
So basically, this ordinance simply flips the 19th and 20th back to the final decision that was made a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yes. And I just have a question on that. Looking through, I know it's been brought up a couple of times, and you're right, it's gone back and forth. I've lost track. I know down that 19th, 20th Avenue section, obviously Ocean Avenue is two-way. Surf Avenue goes south. A Street goes north. Then you have come to Surf, no, it's Snyder, and that's heading south. And B Street is south. So out of the 4 streets, we have 3 of them going south. I thought we were going to try and amend that. Tom, do you have any idea what the police department was considering or anything like that on this, or?
I'd have to talk to the chief to see if there was some discussion on that. You call that, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Discussion.
Because as I said, on those 4 streets, I know A Street has to go north because it goes north throughout town. B Street's got to go south because it's south throughout town. So really, we get into Surf versus Snyder. And both of them are going south. I don't live around there, so I don't know how the configuration of the streets over there confuse, or it's like a maze, a Skinner's maze, as to driving around circles. If it's better to have Snyder southbound, or if it would be better to have Snyder northbound. I know we can't change B or A. Anybody else with me on this?
I want to see what the chief has to say.
Yes.
If I had, like I said, let's see what Snyder on northbound, but really, it's the chief's recommendation.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
No, I agree, I just, yeah, we need to check.
Your check. Mark?
Yeah, I don't know, the chief's recommendation, I guess we should just leave the ordinance the way it is.
Mark?
Yeah, I would approve the ordinance as is, and then if something, I don't want to overcomplicate it. I think if something comes up where we think that would be a good idea, based on the chief's recommendation, and based on feedback we get from people in the neighborhood first.
Tom, could you talk to the chief tomorrow and just bring him up, just bring it up, 3 out of 4 go south. So I don't know. If we change Snyder to north, then 2 streets in a row will be facing north. So
I'll talk to chief. I'm thinking that he's going to probably leave it the same, but I will have a conversation.
all right, this is just a first reading, so
Yeah.
we don't have to go over that.
Correct.
Okay, so I got Council Walker? Yep.
Yeah.
Council Levin?
Yes.
Right. Public session. Anybody interested, please come up to the microphone, which is working. Talk into the microphone, state your name and your address, and answer your question. Yes?
Maria Florio, 115 12th Avenue. Could I address this to Captain Cobb?
You know what, he'll be able to hear you if you talk to me, and then I will probably go, Tom, what do you think? But,
Okay. As far as the specials go, I'd like to know, are they aware of some of the ordinances? One of the things that happened on Memorial Day weekend was beer pong on the porch.
oh. You were playing beer pong on your
All the
porch?
time. And I get it right in the cup. And I shoot it down.
Okay.
So one group of specials went by and didn't say anything. When the third walked by, I said, there's something wrong. So the next day, we questioned two of the specials, and they said, that's okay, as long as they don't have it on their front lawn. I said, I don't think so. He said, yeah. I said, okay, I have to look at the ordinance. And sure enough, that's a no-no. Red cups there in the morning, and I was just wondering.
Okay, Tom, what do you think?
Like anything else, I gotta open up the book and read it, but on
Right.
the top of my head, I would say it can't be in the front yard at all. The front door,
Absolutely,
front
that's
yard.
it.
I believe they can have it in the back as long as it's not visible.
As long as
By
not.
the neighbors, so, like I said, I'd have to, read it to get the verbiage, back to the violation.
Okay.
And another question, if I remember.
So, Maria, you have to move your table to the backyard, okay?
How do you know? Huh?
But to answer your first, do our specialists, yeah, we have a tremendous amount of ordinances, and I would have to say that they don't know all the ordinances. I officiated basketball for many, many years, and I get caught on some rules from time to time. I'd have to look at it and say, and then go back to the rule book after a game or in the locker room. So I bet you our ordinances can catch some of our specials off guard sometimes, but,
Well, we have briefings, so I'll make sure we bring that one up.
okay.
Yeah, that's important now and then, because I live on the block.
Of course, if you see it, call.
Yeah.
Always call. Always call if there's an issue.
I'm not going to go there.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go there. Also, Uber drivers, they're constantly picking up on the wrong side of the street. Now, I don't know how you get to that.
No, if they commit a violation, we're going to write them a summons.
But you have to be there. Can I give out the tickets? I'd make a lot of money in the town.
You can if you want as a private citizen, absolutely.
But that's it.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'll just give you a ticket book.
Peter?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening.
We're going to get you an automatic microphone.
And it works tonight, thank you. Good evening, Peter Barrow, North Boulevard, Belmar. I came to thank the council for two things. The outfall pipe at Lake Como worked, according to Mike, worked extremely well, Mike Campbell, and it clearly did. The water did not get over the embankment after somewhere between 5 and 8 inches of rain we had.
It looked like Niagara Falls, the water from Lake Como going through that pipe is just tremendous.
It was very, very helpful. And second, I thank you for the 19th Avenue change. I would request that you give consideration to asking the police department if they could put up 4-ton truck limit signs at the intersection of Ocean Avenue and 19th Avenue. It's not a dream. We had a couple of tractor trailers. One was a tractor with a trailer for 8 cars on the back of it. And I still don't imagine how he got traversed what he did, but he was driving down D Street, so he had to get there somehow and parked on North Boulevard. What happens is, why would you have that kind of a vehicle? A number of people go to Florida in the wintertime, obviously, from Belmar and others, and they ship their cars. And that particular vehicle I've seen it at least half a dozen times over the 10 years that we've lived there. And permanently, we've lived there for more than 30 years, summer travel. But 4-ton limit sign would be very helpful for that particular location. In addition, second, I don't need to be a traffic officer, but at the intersection of B Street and North Boulevard, I'm sorry, B Street and 19th Avenue, you put up 3 stop signs. That's very, very helpful for slowing traffic down. One additional sign I would suggest you give consideration to, and I sent you an email about that, is putting up an additional sign under the snow covering sign that's on the west corner of that intersection, saying two-way traffic ahead. Because people coming on in Belmar in a westerly fashion on 19th Avenue, they've been doing it for years, they only have a one-way street. They're approaching Lake Como on 19th Avenue, which is a two-way street, and they don't know it. There's no marking to tell you that that's what you're approaching. Prudence would tell you that putting up a two-way traffic ahead sign would not be a bad idea. Previously, there have been signs there saying local traffic only in light of the decision involving Fort Lee. I don't think you can do that anymore. But just please consider those 2 items. Thank you again for those 2 items. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes?
Claire Hayner, 221 18th Avenue, corner of 18th and B. I want to also say thank you for the stop signs at 18th and B. They've been fantastic. They slowed the traffic down. They did create a major traffic jam, only because if you're coming southbound on B Street and you go to make a right-hand turn onto 18th Avenue into Lake Como, you have the cars parked on 18th stopping at the stop sign, and there's parking on both sides, and it's a two-way street in Lake Como on 18th Avenue. So you come down B, the cars are lined up on 18th, and there's nowhere to go. So these cars have to clear out before these cars can go. So possibly those 2 spots on 18th Avenue at the corner be removed from parking so that people can turn. I know that's Lake Como, but that does create a traffic jam. But it slows them down, so I'm good with that.
18th Avenue on B Street.
In B Street.
That's not Lake Como.
On the other side of it.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I thought they were like a little bit past, okay.
No, it's very interesting to see everybody parking in all different directions in that area because they don't know which way it's going. But we try to straighten them out when we can.
Okay.
Second thing was thank you also very much for bringing up Snyder. Someone also had recommended to me that if I got more people involved, possibly that would be changed also. So I know the chief has been looking at this since October. I'm willing to go and plan on going up and down to everyone on Snyder and around 19th, North Boulevard, 18th Avenue, people that it would affect, and see which way, does it impact them, positively or negatively, and bring the results back.
I would probably play, at this point in the summer, with people being down here for 2 weekends, it might be wise not to change any traffic patterns now.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, in other words, we put up stop signs, people are getting used to it. I don't think we'll be putting up any more stop signs. Colleen, no? I think we're trying to let the people settle in to the traffic patterns right now, see how it works, and then adjust. But, as you said, as you heard, Officer Cox is going to talk to the chief tomorrow just to rethink it, but we're not going to probably change it for this summer
I
season.
wouldn't expect that.
Thank you.
That would be September, October
Right.
timeframe. But on a positive note, there is a stop sign as if Snyder was switched at Snyder and 18th. So that is one positive sign.
Okay.
All right. And last but not least, I am disappointed that the town allowed, with all the children on bicycles, parents pushing carriages, pulling wagons, people dragging beach carts up to the beach, that the town allowed a full-size curb to be put on the corner of Snyder and 18th Avenue instead of a ramp. That really surprised me. I personally didn't feel it was in line with the ordinance, but if it is, it is.
Yeah, it turns out, we got your email. According to the code enforcement, it is not in violation. The resident at that could have, if they wanted, put the ramp there, but since it wasn't in violation, they didn't. Is that correct, Colleen?
The feedback that I got from code enforcement was that they had looked at it and not required it.
Right, yeah.
So a full-size curb went in, which made it even more difficult because the damaged curb was easier than the new curb. But safety, thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Bill Kratz, 90 Inlet Terrace, Belmar. When I came to this meeting a month or two ago when the lifeguards were fired, I was told it's because stands were down. And I went to the beach on Saturday and stands were down on 5th Avenue, 9th Avenue, 13th Avenue, 19th Avenue, and 21st Avenue. I dare to say there was never a time last year in June where 5 stands were down. Also, you must be aware that at this point in the season, Belmar has less lifeguards than they have at any point in the last 25 years. So I really would like to know whose bright idea this was. Also, with regard to the Mayfair parking, part of the reason that you're running out of parking places is you replaced 4 supervisors with 6. So now there has to be a couple spaces on the other side of the street. I know I wouldn't get a straight answer on this. I don't know whose idea this was. This was kind of a stupid idea. I could name off the top of my head 6 veteran lifeguards that just wouldn't come back and work under these circumstances. And hopefully nobody's going to die this summer. But it was a ill thought out idea, and it's going bad fast. They wanted to hire 50 lifeguards. They hired less lifeguards than last year. So, and already 1 or 2 kids have quit. So you're not doing so well.
Thank you. You're welcome. Next.
Sandy Caputo, Syrup Avenue. Thank you, colleagues. I'm going to thank you for making the microphone work.
I did.
I sent out,
lightning or something.
well, I sent you an email, I sent a copy to everyone, and when I walked in and it was working, I assumed that you got someone to reconnect it.
This
You didn't
microphone
do it.
system hasn't worked since 1986. When
Now, it worked until a couple months ago, but now it's working. But you seemed surprised, so you didn't do it. Did anybody do it?
April did it.
April did it.
I didn't email April. Oh, so April, did you? I didn't copy you in.
Usually if it's not George Camitas, it's April.
Did you? You did this? Thank you. Okay. How did you know? Did someone tell you I sent an email?
No.
The vibes.
Ooh.
Okay, good. Well, good enough. Thank you.
Jim? Jim can handle that.
Jim Benino, Wall Township. Thank you. I've worked in Belmar for 25 years. I've had the enjoyment of doing that.
I remember how you dig in stands.
I worked with Brian my first year, your last year. We, for the lifeguards, been bombarded with the question of what went on here this winter. With the firing of 2 lifeguards and a supervisor. How would you like us to address it with the public, the regulars who come down every day, and the locals who are your voters? Give us your answer.
It comes down to a personnel issue, and I'm going to defer to the attorney. Greg, how much are we allowed to, since it's a personnel issue, tell in a public meeting?
Discuss with the hiring all sorts of decisions as the people.
In other words, the supervisors that were here last year that did not get rehired back.
The 1 supervisor and 2 lifeguards.
When they started, finished, and their salary, you really can't discuss anything else that happened.
To just tell the general public they were fired for no
That was
reason.
a personnel issue.
Yes, it's personnel, but I will tell you this, Jim. You can go to those people that didn't come back, and it's been explained to them, so they know the answer.
It has been explained to them?
Right, Colleen, am I correct or not?
Yes, the chief is.
The the chief of police has had conversations with those three that didn't come back. Why they didn't come forward to you're good friends with them, I can't explain it. But I can say from being on the council, the mayor, it's a personnel issue that we, don't want to make public before they would tell you.
Okay.
Right?
I just wanted to get an answer so we can
Yeah,
tell all
my
the
answer
regular,
is
all the
personal.
lifeguards are asking
Go back.
question to answer to the public. And that's your answer.
Go back to those gentlemen and ask them what the chief told them.
And I would follow the chain of command, but Eric didn't fire these people.
No, he did not.
So I have to go to you.
Okay, and I'll have to clarify. Because they were seasonal employees, and this is semantics, okay? Because they're seasonal employees, we can only fire them during the season, from Memorial Day to Labor Day. After the season, they are no longer employees, so they didn't get fired, they didn't get rehired. You want to talk
Can I ask a
semantics?
question?
Okay.
No, but isn't there an understanding that you'd be back the following year?
Always has been until a situation that caused us to.
Question?
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Because you,
I am very confident sitting up here of the course that the mayor and council took. And I know those guys, and I would feel uncomfortable
if they don't have
if I didn't know what was explained in this personnel issue, why.
25 years ago, when I sat with you, your last year, my first year in Belmar,
Yeah,
I enjoy every year coming back.
yeah.
The old boss, you knew, there would be a complaint by the public, never answered, and people were let go. Back then, it was said, let's start a union. They didn't want to do it.
Kevin Schrock.
Kevin Schrock, you know. Now, if we're just going to not rehire guards who are doing their job, then I think we are back into the same thing that we were 25 years ago, starting a union.
It sounds close, sounds like apples and apples, but in this situation, it's apples and oranges. So go back to those three people that you know. Ask them what the chief told them.
Okay.
And then I think you'll say, oh, okay, Brian, I see where you're coming from.
I'll ask them. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Chuck Peters, 202 19th Avenue. A couple issues with the streets. The triangle by 20th and A, there used to be a do not enter sign.
Yes, right.
Which is covered up. And I believe it's back to one-way eastbound.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've been cutting through there, I mean, even though it's a double line, making a left, when we used to go up and around.
Make left.
So I don't know, it might be confusing, people might still not be looking for traffic coming from the west. That's just an issue I have. The other thing is, at the end of the gravel walkway, there's gravel missing by B Street, and at night, if somebody's walking around and following a gravel pad, there could be an accident. So what I would suggest, if you're not going to fill that in with gravel, fill it in with dirt and sod.
Okay.
Now look at it. We're not done.
Take a look. Yeah.
I know, but it kind of looked like it was lost in the shuffle.
Okay, well, look.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Pete, 210 County, and I have, for about 2 years, been having a problem with my water meter, and sometimes they're able to read it, and sometimes they're not. About 2 years ago, when it first started going on blink, I called Protocol, and they said that, because what happened, I didn't know it wasn't working, but I bill for about $600 or $700. So I called Borough Hall, and they said, yeah, we're not able to read your meter all the time. And I thought maybe, going to the backyard or something, but it wasn't about fences. So it turns out that sometimes you can read it and sometimes you can't. The meter works, but the port where they get a probe in or whatever is just a little fickle. So subsequently, when they didn't read the meter for about 3 things, I got a bill for $1,200. And so I called up again, I got a letter telling me that I had to replace the meter because it was damaged. Well, the meter technically isn't damaged, it's the port. We know that, because the meter, where the gentleman one time came into the house to read it, is working fine. And I got a letter that had part of the ordinance saying that if there's any damage to the meter whatsoever, it's the owner of the property that has to replace it. I spoke to a young woman at the Borough Hall and called Ms. Conley several times. I never got a response from anybody. So this was actually the first opportunity I've had to come here, and I don't know where else to go. I don't really think it's my responsibility. I've read the ordinance a couple of times, and it basically says that if there's any damage, if it's stolen or vandalized, then it would be the owner's responsibility. So we suggested, we said, well, why don't we just have it fixed? Because the meter, which is probably 30 or 40 years old, is working. It's just the port that's not working. They said we couldn't do that, there are no parts, because the meter we have is so old it's obsolete. So it really sounds to me as if the town wants to upgrade the meters to all those radio remote meters that they can read from the street or whatever. And it's just going to be dumped on each individual homeowner. We did absolutely nothing to our meter. In my reading of the ordinance, the very first line, which is left out of the letter, but the very first line says, all meters and meter receptacles shall be furnished by the department and shall remain the property of the borough. So my question is, why do I have to pay $350 for a meter? And I might add that the reason it probably doesn't work from the outside is it's corrosion, we're guessing. We haven't looked at it, we haven't touched it. But frequently the receptacle thing is left up, so it's open to the weather. So that's what I'm here about. I just really kind of want to answer, I really think if I brought this to a judge or did a motion for summary judgment, I may be stabbing myself in the back, because eventually, if the town's going to pay for all these meters, you're just going to raise the taxes. So I'm going to end up paying for it one way or the other. But $350 for a meter that we did nothing to, it's just a box.
Colleen, can you shed some light on this? Is there a difference between a broken meter and one that's been damaged by the resident?
I know that the water sewer collector and the CFO have looked at this issue a few times at Ms. request. So it's the Department of Works. I think in truth it's an old meter that is in need of replacement. But I'm happy to discuss it again with them tomorrow and see if there's anything else we can do.
So it's an old meter that, and when my meter was replaced years ago, did I pay for that as a resident? I did.
And people do all the time. And so it is something that happens quite often in the borough, whether you're doing new construction or it's just time to replace your meter. That fee is paid by them.
So I pay for it?
Yes.
I'm
happy to take another look at it with the team tomorrow and see if there's anything else we can possibly.
And do we have this
Yes, we do.
woman's name and address and phone number? Okay, we'll work on it. Thank you. Tessa.
Hello, Pat Texa. I own Nostalgic Nonsense, 903 Main Street in Belmar. One thing I want to say, that's not why I'm here, but it's really a pleasure, Mayor and Governor, to see you talk to every individual who comes up here with an empathy, and it's really nice to see you discussing with them their issues. It's just a pleasure.
Okay, you can go sit down now.
Here's your $20.
I've got two things to address for two different, one is I'm a Belmar Business Partnership trustee, and I want to remind everybody that this coming Sunday is our Second annual Belmar Pirate Walk on Main Street, noon to 3. It's a free event, it's a family event. We have treasure chest hunts and activities in the plaza with pirate reenactments and pirate bands and things like that. And unless it's rain or shine, unless we have a monsoon or Hurricane Sandy. So I just wanted to say, please remind everybody to come to that. With that, though, I'd like to ask, for this year and next year and future years, the Pirate Day on the 8th Avenue and Ocean Playground, which has been going on for 5 years or so. You guys came first. That's Pirate Day, ours is Pirate Walk. And I understand that it's been canceled twice this year for weather and everything else. But when the residents and the business owners get a reverse 911, it just says Pirate Day is canceled. And I gotta run around, and because people call me, oh, the Pirate Walk was canceled. No, it wasn't, it's a different day, it's a blah, blah, blah. And twice now, I have had to do recon and work harder to explain to people that's a different event. And I get, yours is called Pirate Day, yours is called Pirate Walk. So if you have to cancel the event again due to inclement weather, can you specify that it's the 8th and Ocean Playground Pirate Day? So
We do that, and we also mention that it's a kids.
Yeah, but
strictly kids.
I
We mention that it's on Ocean
Yeah,
Avenue.
but-
We mention that it's 8th. I know.
But
Understand.
But can you specify it? Because the last reverse I got was just a Pirate Day on Ocean Avenue, or I can't remember. I could be wrong. I could, my brain is Swiss cheese right now. I'm just saying that maybe we could both tweak it a little bit. Okay. Now, as a private business owner, okay, last time I was here, I brought up the letter that we had gotten from the police department saying that 2-hour parking was going to be enforced immediately. That was the last meeting I was at with a letter that I had from 2 weeks prior. I don't see it being enforced unless, on my block at least, I've got a business owner who parks in front of my store almost every day and leaves the space open in front of their store. And they've got an employee who also parks in front of my store. Do I call the police department and say, they've been there since 10, they've been there since noon? What do I do with this? Because a couple other business owners have taken heed to this, and I'm still getting the same stuff every day that I've gotten from this particular business owner every day for 3 or 4 years. Okay? What do I do with that?
Tom, can you handle that?
Yeah.
In other words, do we have the person that walks around with the chalk?
They are
and marks they're chalking?
And I've heard a lot of people getting tickets. So
Yeah,
I've
and
heard-
you know who's getting tickets? The customers. I'm talking about business owners. They're there 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours. They're not, and I've got people that work for me. I'm taking pictures every time I'm there. Okay, so I have a whole document. But I've got them writing down the license plate. Just so I have it for my knowledge. Okay, but it's hours and hours and hours. They're not even moving it forwards and backwards. It's hours. So I just wanted to ask if something could be done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Michael Ruse, 404 Ocean Avenue, about 4 areas. Number one, I'm glad you had 3 inches, I had 18 inches in my basement.
Oh, okay. Where? On 4th Avenue?
4th and Ocean,
You had 4 inches in your basement?
18.
Oh, 18, okay.
Nice fishing.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about the beach badges. Now, I don't know if this is the right form.
You could ask the question.
Okay, I'd like to know a couple points. How was the credit card contract given to process those cards? Was it by bid? Was it by, or just handed to the local bank? Why is there a $1 charge for each badge when it's $1 per transaction? If you buy 2 badges, it's $2, 3 badges, it's $3, 4 badges, it's $4, and it's all one transaction. You buy at the same time. Why are we putting out an individual card for each regular season badge when all they keep track of are the numbers that you can the card over and write the number of the badge you buy, saving paper and time? Why isn't the system computerized? Why aren't there any online sales in this day and age? It's one section. Number two, the parking for lifeguards. The only place I've heard about parking for lifeguards now is 10th Avenue area. So I don't see why they're making spots in front of the Mayfair Hotel. I don't think any of these spots on the west side do any good based upon the traffic during the summer months. I'm encouraging you to leave the parking situation in front of the Mayfair Hotel alone. And finally, where does one get reimbursement? It's after you get a parking ticket and your car is towed, and you go to court, and you're found not guilty. Who reimburses the person who's towed?
I guess, no one. No one.
So you're fined then? The car's towed?
I'm not familiar with the facts.
If a car, any time your car is towed by the police, no parking, whether it's a towaway zone, what have you, go to court, court should get you not guilty. Therefore, you are not in violation, but you still have to pay the towing charge. Who will reimburse you?
No one, there is no provision in law or any procedures by which.
Why not?
You have to ask the legislature.
What is it? Individual
No, it's the municipality, that's not a municipality issue, it's a
Are you
state.
sure? It has been taken.
Vindicated defendants for municipal court?
Right.
No. I mean, there's just no, it just doesn't happen. I couldn't tell you why, that's the legislature.
No, it's not a legislative process, I talked to them. As an individual, if they take the
They should offer
responsibility.
the courts. I mean,
That's-
there's just no, it doesn't happen. I can't tell you why.
So in other words, the person's fine no matter what.
Cool. I mean, you could look at it that way, but yeah.
Okay, so there's, okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Anybody else? Okay, real quick. If you have the same name and address, still please give it.
Claire Maynard, 221 18th Avenue.
Okay.
In Belmar. Just a clarification on Snyder, I just want to make sure that Captain Cox, you're going to check with the chief, but I want to make sure that the chief doesn't come back and say, no way, it's not getting changed. And then I go out and ask everybody. I mean, is it a possibility that that whole piece of Snyder getting changed gets tabled till the fall?
Yeah, we won't do anything during the summer. We've got our traffic patterns set. You can still talk to your neighbors and say that, you prep them for maybe something in the fall. But
Absolutely, I just didn't want the chief to make a decision before we did anything. Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other people coming forward, I make a motion to close the meeting. Second. All right.